Right, now we're back to part 3, and I want to focus on back into what to do if you're following the correct plan of action, okay? Now, so your checklist is written out for you. Your checklist is there. It's on Moodle. Go and find your, go find the methodology section. Go find the implementation checklist. You need to have all of those done, okay? So what are they? If you're going for this, what exactly will I be looking for in the demonstration and in your code to get that maximum mark there? Okay, just showing inheritance and saying, here, I know what inheritance is fine. That's a nice answer, but the correct, real deep answer is, do you understand why you've implemented inheritance in your particular project? Like, why on earth do you even need inheritance at all here? Okay, like for example, a lot of the carts are not needed. Have I been with any group and said, just pull out the cart, get rid of your cart class? Okay? Has anyone been told that in this class? A lot of you have. No? Yeah, you've been told that. Okay, I won't point you out. Right, great. Yeah, a lot of the carts are not needed. So in this program that I'm going to demonstrate now, for example, a cart is not needed. Okay? So if you look at Moodle, you'll find all of this, but I'm going to go through this relatively quickly. Right, where's the diagram I wanted to show you? I want to kind of zoom ahead here. I'm focusing on aggregations, and then I'll focus on compositions and inheritance. Now there's some code examples I've put here for you. All right, where on earth are they? So I've put a link to 3 good websites. Here's 3 really good websites which I think embody everything that you need for implementing all this. And the first one obviously is there's W3P School. W3P Schools has the example for generalization. And, you know, even for this demo, they can all be in the same class. Don't worry about getting everything, you know, the require. Like, if you have everything in the same class, I'd be very sympathetic for that. Like, you see the way the fruit and the strawberry and even the implementation is all in the same class? Do you see that in that example? Okay, or maybe look at the example that I'm going to show you now. Is it's a car class. Here's car. Okay, so here's a car class, car PHP. Okay, so car class, and I've got make, model, engine, price, reg number. It's a public constructor method there. Set methods, get methods, the display method. Okay. And then run the class. Notice that I have the runner version in the same PHP file as the class itself. Okay? So like that's fine. I really don't have anything in the marking scheme this week that says you must have every single file separated and use require. There's nothing in the marking scheme on Tuesday onwards. And it's not really what we're grading. Okay, we're not grading this as a project management system, which is also a part of it. There is like project management is a different thing. Do you all understand the difference between project management and software engineering? Project management versus, do you know what the difference is? I mean, you can project management anything. You can do a project management of your garden. You can hire a project manager to landscape your front garden, your front yard, or paint your house, you know. That's not software engineering. Project management is meeting milestones and meeting goals at the appropriate moment when they should be met. It's very similar job to software engineering in some ways, but it's a different task. It's what Marie's doing with you in some ways, business integration management. Okay, so you're doing a Gantt chart, for example, are you? Okay, have you heard of the critical path? Have we covered that yet? The critical path method. Critical path is like if certain milestones don't get met, the rest of it screws up. Do you know what I mean? If I'm waiting on a class diagram and class diagram has to be done by 15th of March, even one day late messes all the other stuff on the critical path up. So some stuff is on the critical path and some stuff is not on the critical path. Does that kind of concept ring a bell? Okay, so you're doing it with Gantt charts, but you know, project management is a part of this, but it's only for the test. It's graded in the testing section. It's graded in the testing section. And part of project management is how you organize all your files, how you organize, like, you know, if you have a car class, it should be in its own file, and the runner class should be in its own file as well. So like the example, you got the fruit class and the strawberry class in this example all in the same file. That's okay for this week. It's not going to be okay from a project management perspective because you should have cleaned up your act by May and had those all in separate files. Can everyone see that? Yeah? Okay. But for this week, it's okay. So I'm just trying to give you tips what a good use of your time is going to be. A good use of your time, if you're going for objects, is to do the design and get that design properly done, not spend time doing the user interface or this kind of project management side of things. Okay, if you're going for not objects, you might think, oh, well, at least I'll have very neat, organized stuff. Well, I would say no, actually. If you're not doing objects, don't go for the neat, organized version of all your files. Go for implementing more functionality, more of the functional specs. Okay, and if you're doing objects and you get it all done, go for that as well. Do you see the difference between all those three categories? Is that confusing you? Like the category of doing it the standardized requested way with the methodology, proving your methodology, showing your methodology as feasible, implementing your methodology in as much as possible in a strategic way, not just plucking classes out of the sky because you might like doing them. No, implementing it strategically, like demonstrating the core functionality, the core features of your methodology, inheritance, partial, and full aggregation. Okay? And then that means that this can just be done without a huge emphasis on project management. I'll have an enormous emphasis on project management when I meet with Marie and Robert in May to see how the final phase has been done. But just for today, don't go freak. I know a lot of people are planning to do a lot of work at the weekend. I've had a lot of emails from people saying that they're going to be doing more work at the weekend. Well, the work you should be emphasizing is either the objects strategically done, which ones you're going to do, or the functional specs. Okay? So these are examples that I'm going to that I've put here. There's a third one I came across yesterday, and I put this on Moodle too, an additional link. It's a really nice set of examples here. I don't know the website too well. I just came across it, but it's a nice tutorial actually, which is missing from the other two. The W3 Schools website has brilliant examples, and I found this one via GitHub. This one I found it on GitHub originally, but this blog is easier to understand. It's got good examples, but not such good explanations. This website here, Coder HQ, I don't know this website. I came across it, and I've put a link on Moodle for you. It's got very nice explanations. The actual explanations are quite good, which is sort of missing from the other ones. Actually, the implementations are not great. The examples are a bit silly, class 1, class 2. I think students certainly prefer things that have meaning to it, and logger, and this is a good one for explanations anyway. All right, so I'm going to just kind of do a little diagram here to make sure you know the difference and can explain the difference. So my class that I've done here is car. This basic class diagram here, okay, is a car class. I'm going to kind of maybe do this here on paper. It'd be easier if we can just do it on paper, on this, and I'll talk you through it. We're going to build up a very large class diagram based on car, sale, seller. Now, I'm not going to be putting all of the attributes in and all of the methods in, but that is essentially what your class diagram should look like. Not just the names of the class. I mean, we do need to have the multiplicity. So if you can see, the multiplicity is beside the class that it involves. So this reads, car has a one-to-many relationship with sale, which is an aggregation, partial aggregation with car. So basically, sale composed of car, which has a one-to-many relationship with sale. This is saying seller has a one-to-many relationship with sale, which is composed of a seller. Okay? Now, when we look at that car class, you can see it's got VIN, make, model, engine, etc. that car class has been written for you here. You can just cut and paste it if you like, and change it to your class, which will be product. Okay, so if you're in any kind of doubt on how to do a basic object, you can just take that car class and you can just substitute car with product or whatever it is. Okay. Now I've also put a whole series of other files there. Now I haven't they're on. I haven't made them visible yet, but there's a series of other files that I've placed there in a downloadable file. Let me just try and make sure that that's visible while I'm here. And you can just download them. And I have the instance where you implement the database connection. Now, I should have checked this before I walked in, but I was in a bit of a rush. I'll put them at the very top of Moodle now, and then you can just sort of So I don't want to look for that now. It's going to take too long. Let's just leave it. I'll show you. I'll put them on the top. Just keep an eye for your messages. But there's these files here. I've given all of these files here are on Moodle, and they're available to you. So I've got a login handler. How you can do your login. So the login is what I'm expecting this week. Okay. So the get and the post methods. You've probably already done this in Web Dev Server, is that correct? Yeah? Okay, so where you just read the username and post, okay? So the way I'm doing it here is not with objects. But if you are to do this and demonstrate it using object, you'll need a user class and a user object, okay? So rather than just plucking these two variables like I've done here, you'll place in here what? Well, something like you've done for the car class. Okay, so rather than just read out the variable, look what I'm doing also for reading out the car. So here's where I do a database connection, and I just kind of fetch all of the rows, and you just regurgitate the rows to the screen. That's okay, it's fine, but at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're just churning out a bunch of rows from the database to the screen. There's no real thought of methodology in there. And I think a lot of people have done that, especially, you know, this week, earlier in the week, maybe later in the week, people have changed that. But what the ideal way to do that would be to make a car class. So I've basically got a few things here. What I'm doing here is essentially here, these files are available on Moodle. So you can literally just take this exact code. So you have no excuses for having a database connection not done, and at least your product class written, because I've done car for you, you change yours to product. Okay, so this basically reads all of the information from the database. This will do it via a query, so I just say, well, just read the expensive cars. And they're all the same file, really, just a few variations, but this one is an update. So rather than simply reading from the file, we are deleting from the file and updating a file. So the CRUD file, the CRUD stuff. Okay, so what if there's nothing in the tables? Okay, and then there's the whole lot of it placed as just one. But the one I want to focus on just right now is this, number 2. When you're echoing out to the screen, at the very least, you should be using an object. What object should you be using to echo out to the screen? It depends on what you're trying to echo out to the screen. In this case, I'm churning out all of the products, all of the cars. So I think most people have that done relatively okay. At least they've got the first part done, the database config file where it connects or does not connect. Am I correct in assuming that? Yeah, I think so. From what I can see, most people have it done. Now, this section here where you output it to the screen, you're going to need to do that via a class, via a car class or a product class. So my advice to you, if you haven't done it yet, if you have done it, fine, more power to you, good for you. If you haven't done it yet, just make one class called class car or class product, or whatever it is you want to call it, and build all of those core classes we discussed in that one PHP file. Are you with me on that? So at the moment, I just have class car there, and you may just change that to product, have access modifiers, and then I do a new object and then output that object. That's fine. And then if you want to do the second one, sale, you would write the sale as well. So then I'd suggest that'd be a nice one to do second, is to write sale, to build your sale class in that same PHP file. I know it seems weird having the sale class inside car.php, but it will work. And it's not really graded as a project management module yet. So you can still get it working that way. Like, I just don't think that with 1 day to go, I like, again, I'm not going to ask people, but I really have only seen a few groups who have all of these boxes ticked, meaning like the object as an inheritance, the object as an aggregation, the object as a partial aggregation. So my advice to you would be to then just say something like this. So then our second task would be to make this sale. I wouldn't even make sale, I would make seller second, because seller is a replica of car, because seller doesn't actually contain any aggregation, does it? Do you see what I mean? Like, there's no actual, like, there's no actual object as one of the attributes. Like, look at the attributes of car and look at the attributes of seller. Like, they are all primitive types. Every one of them is a primitive type, okay? So, like, primitive type meaning it's not an object or it's not an abstraction or anything like that. Do you know what primitive type means? Yeah? Okay, so I would suggest make something like seller first. Then you've got two classes done, okay? And in our example earlier, what would they be? Well, they would be customer. Okay, you would make customer first. So if you can build customer, that's one. That would probably have just primitive types in it. I wouldn't imagine customers got much complexity to it. And payment to customer in that example there. Can you see how the payment and customer are similar to the classes that I just showed you earlier? Like, basically, customer is like seller or customers. Yes, it's got primitive types in it. And payment is another class that would be a very simple one. And it's only then that you'd make the seller class, and that will implement the aggregation. So, like, that's perfectly illustrated in all of these examples I've given you here. So if we look at the little example here, we got class 1. Notice that this guy also, for teaching purposes, keeps it all in the same file. Okay, so you've got class 1, class 2. So notice that basically class 1 is a fairly clean class, meaning it just has a primitive type. It's got one attribute. And class 2 contains an object of class 1. Okay, now that's a little bit awkward to understand. One of the things I don't like about this website, even though his explanations are good, his or her explanations are good, is the examples are a bit sort of class 1, class 2, class 3. I think students get things like book, author, fruit, strawberry better. So let's take a look at this one here. We have author. That's a nice clean class. Private name, email. Very much similar to the other class that I'm looking at, which would be car. It's very similar to car. Very similar to seller. Just a nice, easy, clean class. With simple attributes. It hasn't got any objects there. There's no inheritance. It's not author extends anything. It's just a very straightforward class. So this is what I mean by this is the minimum everyone should be looking at by getting like at least their product read from the database via an object. And all you got to do is, rather than kind of just echo to the screen and regurgitate the object from the screen, just go down here and make a new car object. Just these 3 lines here is all you're going to need. Okay? Just a few sets, so like that. Just take those lines like that. You literally cut and paste them. And before you start churning out to the screen, just do this. Sorry, inside the while loop I should be. Do this. Don't just echo to the screen. Make a new car object. And you can just say, you don't even have to call it car A. You just call car A set. Okay? And then you don't need this at all. This becomes completely obsolete. You just need to reuse your display method here, display car. okay? Display a car. So all that echoing to the screen business, which we just did in the example, becomes obsolete. Okay? So you basically you will have to use row number equals reg number. You'll have to set them to where you get. I'm just making numbers up here, for example. You're not going to call it 777. You're going to have to say equals reg number. Okay? The car model is not just like a Nissan Micra, is the row car model, and car make is the row car make. Okay? Do you see there? You see the difference? And it even looks neater. It's even simpler code. So rather than just regurgitating out to the screen the actual first line of the database, here you're reading it through an object. And I don't think it's much different in terms of the code than what you had already done. Because most people do have the basic CRUD reading their products from the database. Am I right? Most people have that. So just read your products via some object called product. Like the leverage that's going to give you is massive. That's going to first increase your grade by 20 marks, and it's going to enable you to do reproduction of that with a composite aggregation and another inheritance. Do you see what I mean? Like this is a weird little module, this, because the difference between, you know, like it's kind of like, you know, those Leaving Cert modules, the English or something, the difference between getting an A and just barely getting through is a fine line between it, you know? And here's the same. I mean, once you get that first object done, whether it's called project, product, or car, or hotel, room, or clothing item, once you get that done, the rest of it will just flow. And you'll be able to do your payment next. You'll be able to do the rest of them next, okay? So, like, I just want you to look this up. I'm going to stop now because I had a few other examples I wanted to make sure you knew the difference between. I've covered a lot of this in another video, the difference between a association, an aggregation, and inheritance, okay? So I don't think I need to repeat this, it's on the video anyway, but let's just take a look at a couple, like really quickly, a few of them. Like if you need to demonstrate a full aggregation and you need to demonstrate a partial aggregation. And in terms of coding it, the coding of it is really, yeah, it's the same, I suppose, it's the same. The way you would code a partial aggregation, you know, book, author, car, seller, is no different to how you'd code a full aggregation. Okay, for now anyway. I think, for example, I was chatting about this to other lecturers, and it seems everyone really understands generalizations quite well. I think you understand generalizations so well that a lot of groups think every type of relationship in a class diagram is a generalization / inheritance. Okay? Now it's not. It's clearly not. And in your case, you're being asked to implement something like that. So there's the read, and here's the write. There's the write. So there's when you delete is an update. I'll accept deletes and reads. You should be able to do everything from a read and a delete and an update. It should be very easy. So there's the connection is just the same. You just need to use the connection object slightly different. I'm going to just look at this for a few questions, just to be sure, 100% sure everyone gets this. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions as we finish up, and we'll wrap it up there. Maria will kill me. I told her I'd have you all out early. But you have a pretty substantial assignment due on Tuesday, so I want to make sure everyone's got this right and that you have everything you need to meet the success criteria for it. I forgot my code. Look it up. 7, 4. There you go. Got it. This is recorded, so I'm not going to be putting these files on Moodle. I'll just kind of I'll just leave the video on Moodle, okay? So, okay, at the demo, I'm going to be asking you substantial questions about the methodology, and not just what's the methodology, and you regurgitate Bob the Builder, reduce, recycle, maintain, sustain, reusability, and think that's the end of the problem. No, that's a 5% demo, and that will be the hardest 5% to get. I've already looked at some projects. I think it's increasing every lab. I think every single lab at this point has a group that I would be happy to give 20 out of 22. You haven't done your demo yet, so I can't speak for that. Okay, and then other groups, that number is increasing. You know who you are. I've already spoke to you. Okay, but what's getting that is that you have these implementations in terms of aggregation. So that's the demo. It's really a methodology. I'm really interested in your strategy. If you can think using, do you know what I mean? Like you're not in college to become kind of just a robot coder. Like you're in college to eventually, you're going to go around saying you've got a degree in computer science or a degree in cybersecurity. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not about just using a tool and implementing something and saying, yes, I did that. Okay, you really have to think in terms of, like, someday most of you will probably be Scrum Masters, team leaders. We'll work on all of that project management side of things later, okay? Like I even spoke to a student the other day, and she's now a Scrum Master. She got qualified on LinkedIn. I came across her. And that's probably, but that's a project management thing, okay? You also then have another job, kind of a software architect, which is sort of worked with project managers, but that's a different task. And that's what we're focusing on for this assignment. This assignment is not about project management. Like assignment 4, the one that I go around with Rob, that's all about project management. Did you actually get it done? You said you would do A, B, C, X, Y, Z. Did you do it? Let's see. You didn't do it. Why not? Give your rationale. That's a project management assignment. This is a strategy to make sure that the project can complete properly. So if you can describe how you came across an inheritance, why you did it, you have a partial aggregation and a full aggregation, and like get these terms right, because like, I don't know, I had a little friendly debate with somebody. Who is he? Where is he? Here? Who would hit a Friday's group? The 11 o'clock group. I was having a little friendly debate with one guy about using terms. Generalization and inheritance are the same thing. Okay, forgive my writing here. I'm in a bit of a rush to finish on time. Generalization, you have a generalized class, but there are different types of inheritances, okay? An inheritance, you can have an abstraction, etc. There are different types. But if you look at that little document, that glossary, there's only so many things you can do. There's only so many things you can do in a relationship. Now, we have associations as well. I don't really expect an association on this assignment, okay? So we have these 3, 1, 2, 3. To begin with, I'll describe an association. There's loads of associations. Association, if you have here, teacher, student, class. On. Teacher class, student class. What's that? What kind of relationship is that? Teacher and student. Is that a composition? Is it an inheritance? Is it an aggregation? This is what I mean by the design. This is a design module. So I know we're talking about the implementation for the last 40 minutes and getting it done, but it is a decision making. That's really what I want to make. Can you kind of follow the decision-making process with the systems? That's what makes a good systems analyst. And not all decisions have to be the same. Some of you have carts, some of you don't. Some of you have inheritances, some of you don't. Okay, that is an association. That's really just a one-to-many relationship between teacher and student. There is absolutely no serious kind of composition there. It's just an association. Okay, you have lots of situations like that. You have, you can have even a product. Okay, a product can be associated with a kind of category. Okay, there's really no ownership here. A category doesn't own the product. So those of you who have things like my product is part of the clothing line, is part of the summer line, whatever, that's an association. You know, some of you, I think Sue was we were talking about yesterday. A perfect example was a group I had yesterday doing a garden store, and some products are under tree, some products are part of accessories, etc. Now let's just get 2 or 3 more, and I'm going to ask you what they are. I'm going to write a few classes here, and I'm going to ask you what they should be. Okay, so just extending our last one. So we have review, and then we have product. Okay, review, product, what's that relationship? If I have here, we have user, and we have a guest. What's that kind of relationship? I'm going to do a few more relationships here. We might have a rental as in like a sale, a rental, and a car. We have a sale and a car. What else would be a good one here? If I have a payment and we have card or a Revolut, okay. You would also have things like, let's just check one more just to get you thinking about this. So it's correct. Yes, user review product. I'm going to do return, sale and return. What are these relationships? Product and review should be related. Return and sale should be related. Car and sale related. Car rental. Payment and sale related. Payment car related. Payment Revolut related. User guest related. What are these relationships? We can do this in 1 minute and then we'll stop. All right? So, review product. This, I can call it out, it'll be recorded here. So review and product, what is that relationship?
Aggregation.
It's an aggregation. Full or partial? Partial. No, it's actually full, okay? So, sorry, I don't mean to be rude, just snapping in. No. Okay, it's beg your pardon there with my rudeness. It's a full aggregation, okay? And the reason it's a full aggregation is because if product ceases to exist, review disappears. There's really no reason to have a product there if you haven't got review. Okay, let's do another one here. I think to kind of demo that engine. That's the engine, for example, would be, you know, that would be the kind of same thing. You know, you really, what's your engine going to do without being part of the car? It's really, it can't really exist in its own. You don't go and buy an engine, you buy a car. You know what I mean? So that's a one-to-one relationship there, where review is a one-to-many relationship. And notice that I keep the multiplicity here beside the review. So you would read that as review has a one-to-many relationship with product as a composite relationship. Engine has a one-to-many relationship with car as a composite relationship. Does that make sense? Okay. So let's just hustle here a little bit. Let's get the composite relationships done. Any other composite relationship there? There's one more. One more composite relationship. Can you find it? There's a composite aggregation there. There's one more final one. Okay, it's an aggregation. I'm not so sure I'd say it's composite though. You know, because like by definition, a rental you don't own the car. You know what I mean? You rented the car. So someone else is going to make another rental. You know, you make a sale and you own that sale, that's yours. But a rental, no. So I would say that's actually a partial. So again, one to many. Is that okay? Yeah. Again, you can fill in the attribute yourself. Okay, so there is one more full aggregation there. Full. Where is it? Sorry? Return and sale. Actually, just two. Yes, well done. Return. Okay, excellent. There's two. That's me making a mistake. Return is one. Yeah, that's a full aggregation. Because again, like if the sale class disappears, you have no returns. You know, so there's no way you can do returns without sales. So that's very good. Well done on that one. I didn't spot that, so there's actually two. There's another one. Payment, excellent. Is that you, Mirabella? Yep. Well done. So payment is a full aggregation, so you'd say payment has a one to many. So you always read it like this. This is what a class diagram looks like. Don't go making up your own and making your own referencing style. Use the correct UML style at this point. Now, I'll give you some leverage. I'll give plenty of leeway at this stage, but when we get towards the end, like don't do a real use case diagram, real class diagram. Okay, so payment has a one-to-many relationship with sale. Okay, so we've got a few more left. Okay, payment and card, what's that one? Payment and card, is it an aggregation? It's actually an inheritance, okay? Because a card is, so you say a card has a one-to-one relationship, a card is a payment. Okay, so card is a payment, it's a kind of a payment, isn't it? Okay, like a Revolut. We can use cash as well, let's say. Okay, so these are all, you know, what we'd have here is the arrow. I'm rushing that badly here. But again, it's a one-to-one relationship. A Revolut payment is a one-to-one relationship with payment. Okay, is that showing up what I'm trying to point out here? Okay, guest user then. Guest user is inheritance, okay? That should be fairly obvious. Most of you are doing that. And like that covers it. I mean, we have pretty much everything we want to do there. Sale, we might have, just for the sake of it, we've put in, there's a partial, I don't have many partial aggregations here actually. We don't need them, I only need one. Do you know what I mean? Like for the purposes of this assignment, we only actually need one. So I think if you can get to this point at this stage of March before St. Patrick's Day, like you'll be in fabulous shape for your test. Your testing will just be easy. In some ways, this module is over for you if you do this to this standard next week, because your unit testing will just be installing Codeception. Your user interface testing will be just installing Codeception, and then you're only really dealing with validation testing and equivalence partition. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. Does anyone have any questions before I turn the recording off? Is that clearer to you or more confusing? Be honest. Okay, thanks, and I'll see you. So sorry to keep you. Marie wanted you in that lab earlier, so